talking with Mike Marcellin of Juniper today and talking about cloud stuff, obviously. So Mike, as we talk about cloud and the infrastructure and building the cloud, it seems like all of this is going to be a big management problem, or that management is going to be a big part of whatever a cloud provider has to provide. And what do you see happening there, and what's the biggest challenge going to be?
Yeah, I would certainly agree with you. I mean, always as service providers are looking at their business and delivering services to customers, management is a paramount concern, both for their own ability to scale and serve many, many customers, and then for the types of SLAs and performance guarantees that they can give to their customers. And so, as we think about giving service providers the type of building blocks for their infrastructure, one of those building blocks is the service orchestration and the management layer. So I think it'll absolutely be a critical piece of that, and so as people are assessing their strategies, it's easy to think about, what does my infrastructure need to look like, but very quickly you have to say, what existing management platform do I use today? And every service provider is different, and then how does, how I think about cloud evolve that notion, and for service providers to be successful in cloud, they're going to have to tie together the types of services cloud enables with the other services that they provide. So having integrated management across their network services as well as their cloud delivered offerings is going to be paramount importance.
Okay, is that going to be easy? Because every time I hear about the software, the management stuff that's inside a service provider, it always sounds complicated and really difficult.
No, yeah, I don't know that it'll be easy, but I think most service providers that we talk to recognize that it is essential, and in fact, it's one of the things that will allow them to differentiate from some of the other providers that are out there that maybe don't have as much experience in managing large global networks or services at scale.
Okay, all right. Now, as we're talking here, the Amazon cloud outage is still pretty fresh in people's memories. What do you think that? How meaningful is that, and what should people learn from having been through that?
Well, I think, immediately I think when it happened there was a lot of concern about, is this going to, set the cloud, push or the movement back?
It was the end of the world, right?
Yeah, it was the end of the world, set it back many years, and are people just going to stop going to the cloud? I think certainly gave people a little bit of pause. I think, cloud has a lot of great attributes. It's not a panacea, or maybe put differently, it doesn't get you off the hook of having to think about resiliency, reliability, security, all the different things that you have to think about in any IT infrastructure approach. And so, that's what I think it's going to just refresh in people's minds. So, you may be able to get a lot of economies or efficiencies by moving to the cloud, but you still have to care for some of those basics. And so I think that's probably going to be one of the key things. And so as you think about then, okay, if I'm going to invest here, put my services into a cloud environment, how do I think about geographical redundancy? How do I think about making sure that security is there? And so those are all the types of things that we work with service providers every day, and how they can scale that up, think about movement across their data center so that the cloud isn't just a way to deliver services from a single physical data center, but actually multiple data centers truly being a cloud.
Okay, so the cloud is not like a garbage can. You don't just throw something in there and forget about it.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. Let me ask you one thing specific to Juniper about QFabric, because QFabric is about building a data center at scale, big scale. But as I've talked to some of the people who are looking at cloud, on the enterprise side, they want to do everything in small steps because they don't want to get locked into a vendor and they don't want to get locked into a technology. So I know QFabric can scale down somehow. I'm sure you have a plan for dealing with that kind of mentality, right?
Yeah. Well, so I think what you said is right, and people are going to take incremental steps toward the cloud, and they're not going to. I mean, it's rare that we encounter a true greenfield scenario anymore. So the fundamental thing with QFabric is it does give you the ability, yes, to scale, but also gives you the level of performance. And back to your point about manageability, you can actually orchestrate many devices as a single logical switch. So think about what that can give you from a performance perspective and drastically reduce latency, but also from a management perspective. I mean, if you can manage many devices as one, that's the best management scenario that you can have. So those key attributes, I think, are going to make it particularly attractive for enterprises. And what we expect to see is that as enterprises maybe take a step for a given application or a given pod within their data center infrastructure, that's where they'll take those first steps and the on-ramps to QFabric. So, we'll give some scaling options, and then we'll probably see some adoption, pod by pod as they go, hopefully to a broader adoption, down the road.
Okay, so it comes back to manageability. Use my own question to trap me back in that circle.
Well, it was a great question because it's a key consideration for people,
yeah, no,
and so
it
it really plays to one of the big strengths of QFabric.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Mike. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Appreciate it.